Let's talk about today questions you can ask to get clear on anything. So, we have a new program coming. For those of you guys that are a coach, are a facilitator, and you are either pivoting, re-emerging, reinvigorating, or some other version of that, I'm really excited to invite you to a new program that I'm creating called New You, New Leads. And today was a day of a bunch of different clarification exercises for me and for other people, number one. But number two was a day of receiving from questions that I've asked in the past. And so we're going to travel in and around questions today, questions that you can use to stimulate contribution from the universe, questions you can use to stimulate contribution from your own world because you're more brilliant than you know. And let's see where we go. The first part of today was, so I'm building a new program. Any of you guys out there, a facilitator or a coach, and have to come up with new things based on the fact that that's what you do? All right. And how many of you guys are pivoting, are taking what it is that you know, or taking what it is that you've done so far and moving and moving? You're either moving into a completely different thing, or you're taking the thing that you used to do and you're making it different, or something that is being asked for by your business, by your life, by the fact that you've changed. The key to any clarity ever, the key to anything being contributed to you, any kind of knowledge, any kind of information, any kind of contribution from anywhere, is to ask a question. You can't receive from anything if you don't ask a question. So what I've learned is that my job is to become a really great question asker. I'm going to give you two examples of really fun life examples of where Andres and I added questions in the last 2 days and what's shown up. This is an example of how to use questions to stimulate contribution from the universe. The first example is I myself have been going through an exercise out of a book called Unique Ability, and I'm opening my iPad to show you what I wrote from that exercise. And if you go to crystaljoycrawford.com/reads, you can find the link to this book. It's called Unique Ability. And the first thing that it has you do is go through an activity inventory, right? The target of the book is to get you to look at what your unique ability is. And your unique ability is sort of hidden in all of these different tasks that you do. And all of us have a unique ability. And our unique ability is much more broad and much more of who we are than it is a skill set. So even though I might be a great business coach and facilitator and love consciousness and all that stuff, I have a unique ability that sort of underpins and feeds all these, whatever I do, whether I'm washing the dishes, sweeping the floors, I have one. So I've been really determined to be able to articulate it, not find it per se, but find it from a words point of view. So I went through this book and I've only gone through like the first quarter of it, but already I have so many ahas, and I made a couple of lists. So if you are on video, you can see my iPad here. So this is my list of all the different things that I do in a work day, which, as you can see, is many. And then right underneath it is all the different things I do in a personal day, which isn't as many. I actually spend most of my time working. And then the second part of the exercise, and I am getting to the point, is you put it into an activity snapshot. All right. And so you put all of your tasks into one of 4 quadrants. Your unique tasks, your things that you're competent at, things that you're excellent at, and things that you're incompetent at. And then the next part of the exercise is to create for yourself a unique, like an action plan. And the target is to move your life from spending all your time and all your energy on the things that you're excellent at and competent at and incompetent at into just unique ability activities. And of course, that's going to take what it takes. Like some of that stuff's going to take a couple years to show up, but you start. And their invitation is take the stuff that's in the competent and incompetent categories and work with that stuff first. Because if you're just competent at it, maybe you shouldn't be doing it. And if you're incompetent at it, you shouldn't even touch it. So if you are touching it or you are avoiding it or it's not getting done, but it needs to be done, start with those and ask a question. Who can I add to take care of this for and with me? Not how. Not how can I get this done? Who can I add? Now that really comes from Dan Sullivan's book, Who, Not How. And I'm just deep into the strategic coach stuff right now. I'm like reading Who, Not How. I'm reading Unique Ability. I'm reading the 10X is easier than 2X. For those of you guys that have businesses, I think that stuff is essential business reading. So you look at that stuff and you go, who can I add to take care of this for me? Well, one of the things on the things that I'm competent about, like I'm competent with this thing, but I'm not excellent at it, is marketing. Now, marketing is the art of positioning your items so that they can be consumed by the people that are looking for them. You're welcome. I just came up with that. I put onto my list as part of my work activities, marketing strategy and marketing projects. I would say that marketing is one of those things that I have, for as long as I've been an entrepreneur, wanted to be really great at. It's very different than just putting something out there and inviting people to it. Marketing is the art of getting into the psychology of it. It involves psychology. It involves copywriting. It involves creativity. It involves positioning. It involves strategy. There's a lot of different muscles that go into traditional marketing. And I think it's really interesting. But it takes what it takes to learn it. And I've been on a big learning curve with marketing probably for the last 7 or 8 years. And I would say I'm still just competent at it because at the end of the day, where I'd really like to function from is my unique ability, which is that big, spacious picture thinking that is just like, envisioning and watching and facilitating and arting and writing. That's where I want to live. Do you know how much time I actually let myself spend there? Like 10% of my day. So for me to get there to 100% requires some who's. Long story short, this is kind of a long story. I apologize. I put this down as something that I'm competent at, but it needs to be delegated. And I asked the universe. I was like, universe, what would it take for somebody who's brilliant at marketing to show up? So I'm not going to go into the whole story today, but suffice it to say that that was one of those things that I thought would be really hard for the universe to deliver that turned out not to be hard. And today, somebody showed up that is brilliant at marketing, that also needs what I'm brilliant at, that also wants to contribute to the business growing, that I'm going to end up talking to next week. Questions that stimulate contribution from the universe. There are so many things in your life that you don't know how to get. You don't know how this is going to show up. You have no idea. That's probably 98% of your life. And for those things, you ask the universe to contribute. Another example of that, of the questions that stimulate contribution from the universe, is 2 nights ago, Andres came home. He had a really hard day at work. He started a new job. It's a basic job to get money coming in. It's not his favorite. And he'd had a really hard day. And he came home and his body was hurting and he needed bars and his head was hurting. And I said, well, so we're just laying together. He didn't really want bars. He wanted to sleep. So we're laying together and I've got my hands on him and I'm running a body process. And I just sort of gently led us both into destroying and uncreating who we were yesterday and all of our good ideas. And I started asking questions. What would it take to show up with total ease? What would it take for this to show up with total ease? What would it take for that to show up with total ease? What would it take for the infinite possibilities of how this can show up with total ease? First of all, he slept like a baby. According to him, he said, I slept better than I've slept in a long time. And yesterday, which was the day after the hard day, he had like 10 different things show up that weren't there the day before from the questions that we had asked just last evening. So this is your official invitation to ask questions when you have no idea how to get what you want to show up to show up. First of all, get clear on what it is you want. And I find it easier to get clear on what I want by looking at what's there, what's working, and what's not working. That's probably my best and simplest clarity exercise for life. What is it? What's working about it and what's not working about it? And who or what do I need to add? Who or what do I need to change? Who or what do I need to stop in order to have something different? That's the thing that I would use with your life. Like, and start asking for it. This is your sign to start asking questions that stimulate the universe to contribute to you. Whatever it is that you have going on in your life doesn't have to stay that way. It can be greater almost instantaneously. Now, you can't guarantee instantaneously, but the thing you can do instantaneously is start asking for something new. And it all starts with, what would it take for fill in the blank to show up with total ease? What would it take? What are the infinite possibilities of this thing getting greater with total ease? What are the infinite possibilities for this? What are the infinite possibilities for this? Everything that doesn't allow the infinite possibilities to show up, I let that go. Use the clearing statement if you want to. Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all nine shorts, boys, povids, and beyonds, but you don't even have to use that. Just ask. Everything that you don't know how to get to, the universe does. The universe is huge and it wants to contribute to you, and all you have to do is ask. So, let's move into questions that stimulate clarity. Let's talk about questions that stimulate clarity. Now, I am currently about to put out a new program, as I've said, new leads for existing coaches and facilitators. And what this program is really going to do is empower you to clarify, articulate, build, and move your work out into the world in a new way. So that's why it's for existing and pivoting facilitators and coaches, because I'm actually in that process myself. Somewhere in the last 6 or 8 months, something drastically changed. And it was a process trying to kind of come to terms with it and acknowledge it and allow it. And when I did, I realized that I needed some clarity. Like, okay, everything's changed. So now what? And, one of the first pieces that I needed to get clear on is, well, what would I like to do? What do I want my life to look like? So that's a great question to ask yourself. What do you want your life to look like? And what I got clear on for myself is I definitely want to continue to work with people. I definitely want to have an effect on people's lives. I definitely want to work with the people that I think are really fun to work with. And so I got clear on all that. Who's really fun for me to work with? Who's my favorite client? And what do they like? And if all my clients could be like that person, who is that person? What's the thing that I specialize in? And this is a little bit different than finding your unique ability. I talked about finding your unique ability previously. Again, you can find that at crystaljoycrawford.com/reads. This is more like looking at what do I just kind of always talk about? What is always coming off my lips? What do people come to me for? What do they come? This is what I specialize in. And if that were going to represent itself as what I'm called, as what I do, as a series of programs, as a way people could engage with and work with me, what would all those things be? Now, this clarification process can take a minute. For me, I've been in this process probably for the last 3 months. And one of the things you're probably going to discover in getting clear on something like that is that you're going to start here, and then it's going to lead you here, and then you're going to go here, and then it's going to go here, and then it's going to go here, and then you're going to go back here, oh, that changes this, but then it takes you up here, and then you go over here, and then you come in, and then you come back here, and like, oh, and you start to get more information just by starting. And if there's no way to present it in a way that's linear, because it isn't. It's very, very much like looking at your kitchen one day going, that sink is going now. I have had it with that sink. I'm not doing the sink anymore. I don't feel the sink anymore. That is coming out tomorrow. And you take the sink out and you go to Home Depot and you buy a new sink and you put the new sink in and you're so happy with the sink. But then you step back and you look at the sink on that counter in this kitchen with those cupboards and you're like, nope, shit, nope, I can't have that sink, which I need, with those counters and those cupboards. I just can't. I gotta change the kitchen. And then you change the kitchen, and then you have to change the backsplash because you can't have that kitchen with that backsplash. And then you change and then you've got to change the floor, which probably honestly all happens at the same time because you take all those cupboards out and now you've got to get rid of that floor and that backsplash. So that's all. And then you put all that in and you look at your old kitchen table in that new kitchen and you're like, that's never gonna do. So then you got to change that. So by the time you were just going to change the sink, but by the time you change the sink, you've ended up changing the whole kitchen. And that's how clarity works. So in the next few days, I'm going to be putting out a free call that's going to start to contribute some of this to you guys. And I very likely will also have like a micro offer. Like you can download this sheet that I've put together that's got all these questions on it. So you can keep your eyes out for that. But I wanted to talk about this because this was the second part of today. There's a lot of me working with people right now, assisting them to get clear on articulating what it is that they are doing, what are they specializing in, and how does that translate into words for their website and words for their offers and words for their stuff. How does you translate into words? Of getting clear just requires you to sit with it and go, what is it that I want to get clear on? And start. So you can start with, what is my specialty if you want to? That would be a good little pathway that'll take you all over like this. You can start with, what else do I have here that would be really great for you to start with? Hold on, I'm going to find it. Questions you can start to ask. Okay, you can start with, what is my specialty? See if that works for you. You can also start with, think of your favorite client. If all your clients could be like this, what would they be like? So again, another question. Clarity comes through questions because you get awareness of things. What do people generally come and talk to you about? Is there a bigger conversation underneath the theme and the kind of the trend of what people come and talk to you about and what you typically like talking about? Is there a bigger conversation underneath all of those topical things that you are really excited and enthused and passionate about? And then I'll take it all the way to the end. If you start to get that information, how can the information apply to your website? How can that information apply to your social? How can that information apply to your offers? How can that information apply to your growth strategy? How can that information apply to your messaging everywhere? What you got to start to look at, what I've been starting to look at is that if I'm going to go out into the world and invite you, who's never heard of me before, into my world, I want what you find to be clear and helpful. If I'm not clear, then that's not helpful. And so what is it I need to get clear about in order for you to recognize that this is for you? Now, there's two different ways of really looking at marketing. One is who you are is the gift, and the people that are for you are going to find you. Another way is, I'm going to go after the people that are looking for me, and I'm going to get really specific about who they are, and I'm going to put my stuff in their way so that they stumble over it, and if they like it, they choose it. And neither one are wrong. And so you have to just look at what you want to have as your life. How big do you want your ecosystem? How much impact do you want to have on the world? How aggressive do you want to be in going out and finding those people? Because that's the only thing. And what you got to get is that if you do choose to go out and find those people, you get out on the road in whatever way that is. Virtually, that looks like advertising. In your city, that looks like getting out of your house and going to talk to people. You get out on the road and you go. And then when you get in front of people, ask yourself a question. When I get in front of a person, what am I offering them? And go, and then put yourself in their shoes and go, is what I'm offering them clear? Or is it kind of muddy? I find that for most of us that are humanoid, that where we're incredibly creative and we get bored really easily and we're very aware, we're very fast, and we are generally aware of so many things at exactly the same time, that we tend to have a less used muscle when it comes to getting clear on stuff. So finding words for things and articulating things seems to be harder, but it's not impossible. And it starts with asking yourself questions. So you want to start asking yourself those questions. And the same questions apply to when you're creating a program, because I'll wrap with this. I am putting together this program, New Leads, New You. And when you start creating a new thing, you basically have a general idea of something, and then you form it into something either more or less specific. And with Access Consciousness classes, a lot of times classes are just really an idea, an energy, and a question. Come choose it. That is a very simple way of creating classes. And that works really, really well for people that have been referred to you, that are really warm to you, that you've warmed up with a lot of your content because they're like, oh yeah, I love this chick. Whatever she does, I'm in. That's not necessarily as effective for the brunt of the people out there. It still works for some people. But what tends to work a little bit better for more people is when they have more information about what it is that you're doing. Now, so I had some information, right? I'm like, I want to speak to these people about this particular thing. It's a very particular thing. When you're reforming, when you're new and you want your business to speak new and act new and be new, that's a very particular kind of moment in a business owner's history. And so I had a few pieces of information. I have that piece and I have that piece. Now, here's the question. If this were going to form itself into a 3-month program, what would that be like? A question that stimulates the ideas. Because I was walking around the house today and I'm like, this idea could be anything. This could be a free thing. This could be a free checklist. This could be an audio. This could be a video. This could be a bunch of different things. Your ideas can all come out of you as different things. But if I were going to form this into a 3-month program, number one, can we get to this material in 3 months? That's information I don't totally have, but I got yes. And I was like, okay, so if it were going to be a 3-month program and we were going to attempt to actually accomplish something, like produce work, right? Produce an effect inside of us, what would the different components of the program be? And that's where I sat down with that question. I got a lot of awareness. I was like, well, if we were going to go here to this destination, we would start here. And then I sort of filled in the middle. And I was like, okay, I get that can be a program. And then how would we accomplish that? Would we do Zoom? Would we do WhatsApp? Would we do daily? Would we do weekly? Like, how could we accomplish that? And I got the information almost right away. We would do this, and then we would do this. Okay. So now all that's left is communicating, because I've formed the idea. Now I probably put a few finer points on it, give it some fancy names or whatever. But now it's just the communication of that idea and the invitation to that idea that's left to form. And that comes through an additional set of questions. So I want to this whole episode for you is about really emphasizing that questions are the business owner's best friend. They are the thing that you need to be really, really good at if you want things to move. If you want to invite the universe to contribute to you, if you want to get more awareness of what it is you could choose, if you want to get more awareness around a particular idea, you got to be willing to ask a question. So I want to invite you today to practice more questions. One of the games I love that I have played multiple times that I stole from Shannon O'Hara, stealing like an artist over here, is the 5-minute question game. And what she does is she invites you to, with a friend or by yourself, to, for 5 full minutes, never say a statement. Just ask questions. Don't let yourself say anything with a period at the end. Say everything that you want to say as a question. And what that's going to start to do, number one, is show you where you don't ask any. And number two, strengthen that muscle of forming a question. Questions are going to be your way out and your way in to everything that you want to have. And I'm here for it. It's one of the best tools and the best gifts that Access Consciousness gave to me was the ability and the art of asking questions. And I'm so thrilled because they work so well. They move things so dynamically. So I want to encourage you to ask more questions today. And that's it. That's it. If you liked this, please like it, comment, and share with your friends. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please do. Please leave me a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. And I will see you in the next conversation.